Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur Master Series. I am your host. I am the real Jason Duncan, and I am really glad that you're here today for our show that's going to be on the blueprint to $100,000 a year in passive income. My guest is going to be Zelan. I'll introduce him in just a minute. But thank you for being here today. We started a little bit past the hour. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, so thank you for hanging in there. We're broadcasting this on Zoom. So a lot of you are on Zoom watching this right now. Thank you for registering and being here on Zoom. We're also broadcasting live streaming on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and on Facebook, all at The Real Jason Duncan. So I think at this point, you're probably following me at The Real Jason Duncan. So thank you for doing that. If you're not, make sure you go check me out on any of those platforms at The Real Jason Duncan. The only weird one is Twitter. Twitter is just at Real Jason Duncan. They wouldn't let me put those extra 3 letters in there at the beginning. So anyway, thank you for being here. Let me explain to you what the Entrepreneur Master Series is so you know what you're in for today. You're in for a treat, and this is not just for today. I do this twice a month. It's a EMS, or Entrepreneur Master Series, is a 90-minute live webinar series designed and curated to bring high-value content to today's successful entrepreneurs like you. And that's twice a month. I bring in an outside expert on topics that are related to entrepreneurship, like wealth management, wealth building, what we're talking about today. But we're also talking about leadership and sales, financial literacy. There's all kinds of topics, marketing, you name it, we talk about here on the Entrepreneur Master Series. And each episode is a masterclass designed to give you tactical information that you can take and use right now, and you don't have to wait for it. So thank you for being here. Today is going to be a great, great show. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest and the topic for today. The topic, of course, as I said, is the blueprint to $100,000 a year in passive income. And it's not a pipe dream. Making a passive income as an investor is not only a reality, it's easier than you think that it is. So today, my guest is Zelan. He's going to be sharing his journey from Microsoft to becoming a full-time investor. He's going to be sharing his personal passive income strategies and how he's able to generate 8 figures passively every single year. And he'll be sharing his exclusive blueprint to $100,000 in passive income, which has been featured in Forbes, Yahoo Finance, and many other publications. Who is Zelan? Well, Austin is an American businessman, an investor, a TEDx speaker, and a philanthropist. Throughout his career, he's always focused on productivity and efficiency and finding ways to have a more positive impact with his work. This has allowed him to simultaneously run multiple successful businesses, pursue his PhD, and serve on several executive boards. He has a passion to help others grow and achieve more. And he's currently coaching students from around the world to increase their impact while decreasing inefficiencies. And he helps his students create 6-figure passive incomes through his mentorship program. This proven framework creates generational wealth for his students and allows them to take back control of their time. And this has allowed him to shape the investment space to become more efficient and more lucrative for all investors. So if you know me, if you've been following the Real Jason Duncan for a while, a lot of what I just read about what Austin's doing is stuff that I talk about too. So I'm really excited that you're here. Now, before I turn the camera on, get my producer, Garen, with Desk Rig to turn the camera on to Austin, I'm going to say this. If you're watching this on any of those platforms, you can interact with us live. All you have to do is go to the chat feature and type in your question. If you're watching on Zoom, don't use chat. Don't use chat. Go to the Q&A bubble and use the Q&A bubble in Zoom to ask your questions. But if you're in any of the other places, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn, just go to the chat section, type in your question, and our producer, Garen, will be monitoring that, and he can drop those questions in because Austin and I want to interact with you today. So, Austin, welcome to the Entrepreneur Master Series, man. This is going to be a great show today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's not often that you get to meet somebody who's generating 8 figures of income passively. So I'm excited to know you, to be introduced to you, to get connected with you. And I know that the audience today is also excited about that too. So tell us a little bit about you. I gave a good bio and background on what you're doing right now, but where do you live? Kind of tell us about your family, hobbies. What are you doing right now? And then we'll get into the meat of it.
Yeah, man, definitely. So I live in Seattle, Washington, born and raised in this area. It's kind of a nice little corner of the United States, nice and quiet. We've got a lot of nature. I enjoy being outdoors. But besides all that, I do like to build my life in a way where I'm very intentional with it. So with that being said, even back when I was in the corporate world, I knew that working was only to provide a lifestyle that I wanted to live. And so it's a little bit difficult if you're just focused on a 9 to 5 format for that. And you're trying to spend as little time as possible working and also still make enough money to enjoy the time that you're not working. And so for me, the solution to that was passive income. And so it all started in like Forex and trading and stuff like that. But I'm sure we'll get into more of that here in a bit. But yeah, man, just born and raised in Seattle. I travel a lot, so I get to see a lot more sunshine. And when I come home, it's nice and quiet, and it's my little corner of the U.S.
So now you're a pretty young guy. Like, so how old are you?
I'm 26 right now.
26-year-old, gonna teach us how to do 8 figures of or how he does 8 figures of passive income, and how we could do 6 figures of passive income per year. That's a pretty big feat for someone in their mid 20s, man. I remember I had my first son when I was 25, and life was certainly not put together yet. I had not figured out what I wanted to be when I grow up, and here you are, guest on the Entrepreneur Master Series, talking to entrepreneurs all over the world about to share your stuff. How does that feel, man? That's got to be surreal for you.
Well, the way I see it, it's like, I started putting in the work very early. And I know the hard work and the time and the sacrifices that I had to put in to build what I have going right now. And so for me, it doesn't seem like anything crazy. I just know the process that I went through. And I know how hard it was to take those steps and the things that I missed out on and the things that I wish I had time to do. But instead, I wanted to focus on my business and grow it, and just having determination, a lot of hard work, and being focused on that one goal that I have to build passive income. I was able to build what I have today. So it's a lot of work, but when you put in the work, it's definitely worth it.
So let's go ahead and dig in, man. So let's talk about how you went from Microsoft to just being an investor full time. So tell us about what you did at Microsoft, and then how and why you made the decision to exit that and get into investing.
Yeah, definitely. So at Microsoft, I was like a strategy consultant. So I worked in the Azure department. We worked with our partner channels, or Microsoft's partner channels, where Microsoft traditionally doesn't like to sell their own product. And so it's only recently that they've had like Microsoft stores and stuff like that. But the bulk of everything that happens is through their partner channels. And they're actually a company that really pioneered this model. And so they'll have like 100, 200, maybe even a couple thousand companies that have their own clients. And they'll basically incentivize these companies to bring clients to Microsoft products. So, for example, this could be a big consulting firm, and this consulting firm has hundreds of clients. And the consulting firm, when consulting their clients, they have an option on where to send these people. They could be like, hey, you should use Amazon service here, and then you should use Microsoft's cloud service here, and then you should use Google here. So if we could find a way to incentivize these partners to bring all of that consumption from clients to Microsoft, we were able to build a successful business model. And so that's what I did with them. Part of it was like involved with some automations and stuff like that. And so during that whole time, though, I was learning how to invest. And so the first thing that really caught my attention was trading. And the reason that it caught my attention is I had a very interesting experience. So a friend of mine, he showed me how to place trades on my phone. Now, I didn't even have a real account at that point. This was just a demo account, just fake money in the account, but that account trades with live market conditions. So I could basically take a look at what the market's doing, and I could place like a practice trade. It's called a paper trade. So if I place this paper trade, it would still show me whether I would profit or lose, but it wasn't real money. And so I remember placing a trade. I was sitting at Starbucks, middle of the day, absolutely the worst time of day to trade. And I placed this trade and I totally forgot about it. Later that night, I wanted to keep practicing trading. So I opened my app and I look and I'm like, wow, I made over $2,000, like literally without knowing what the heck I was doing. I literally just made like $2,000, of course, fake money, but it showed me the potential of something like this. Because at that point, $2,000 was a pretty significant amount. And I'm like, wow, Imagine if I actually knew what buttons I was pressing, how much money I could make. Like with absolutely zero knowledge, I made $2,000. And the other thing that really stuck out to me is that you don't have to get better at trading necessarily, because if you have a bigger account, you're still doing the exact same thing. Once you have a bigger account, you're making maybe 5, 10, 20 times more. So I could have made $200,000 on that same trade if I was trading a bigger account. I wouldn't have had to do anything different. I would just be placing larger trades because my entire account size is larger. So that kind of kicked everything off for me. And then from there, I started to diversify into other things and just build a passive income portfolio that worked for me. And eventually that evolved into like a coaching program and all that stuff. So that's kind of where we're at today.
Well, when did you say, okay, I'm making paper trades and I'm going to now make real trades? When did that occur and how did that go?
Yeah. So I'd say I spent maybe like 6 months or so just practicing, 6, 7 months. And then I started depositing real cash into these accounts. And so the funny thing is, actually, I've lost my entire account more times than I could count, like over 20 times. I would deposit money into an account and just lose absolutely everything. That was my first year of trading. And I think back sometimes and I'm like, man, like imagine if like on the 18th time when I lost everything in my account for the 18th time, I was like, wow, maybe this isn't for me. And I decided, oh, you know what? Like it's probably not going to work. Maybe it's not a real thing. Maybe it was just an accident that I made that money at the beginning. And just imagine what would have happened to my life if I gave up. And so for me, it's kind of like an encouragement to persevere and to try again, because the only time that you can fail is if you stop trying. So if you give up, then you failed. But because I kept trying, eventually that money that I was depositing became profitable. And I'd say maybe like 12 to 14 months of trading. And I finally got to that point where something just clicked and I became profitable. And so it was mostly just sticking to a set of rules, and being disciplined to those rules, to where I take my profits and where I take my losses. And that's what made the difference for me.
So I've got a guy that's on here watching live on YouTube. He happens to be my intern right now. And one of the things he's been doing is exactly what you were doing. He's doing the paper trades. He's trying to figure out how to
Yeah.
do this. So give him one little tip right now. You could talk right. His name is Justice. Tell Justice, give him one tip.
So the biggest tip I would say is to make sure you're always controlling your risk. Um, the only thing that you can control in the market is how much you're risking. You can't control how much profit you're going to make. You can't control how the market's going to move. But the only thing that you can control is how much you're risking per trade. So if you're the last man standing in the market, you won. So every single trade that you place, my rule of thumb is not to risk more than 1 or 2% of your entire account. Because if I'm risking 1%, I could go 20, 30, 40 losses in a row and then make money after that. Because statistically, you're never going to be 100% profitable. So you have to limit how much you're losing if you do happen to lose.
Good tip. 1 to 2%. That's a good rule of thumb. All right, Austin, let's go ahead and dive in, man. You've got this blueprint for $100,000 a year in passive income. And I think that's why most people are watching this live right now, is they are interested in what does it look like to go to 100K in passive income. So first of all, if we identify the idea of what passive income is, passive income is income that you don't have to actively work for. So you're not trading active hours to in return to get money. So if we have a job where we get a salary, if we have money that we have some sort of hourly job, we're trading time for money. But passive income, as we're talking about on this show, is we're talking about how to make it without doing active. So Austin, we just had Austin dropped out. So let's see if we can get Austin back. I'll take this opportunity while our producer is trying to figure out what's going on with Austin in the background. His camera dropped off. He muted, and then he is completely gone. So we're going to try to get him back. If you've got a question that you want to ask Austin about passive income, about investing, about any of that, anything that you think we're going to be talking about today, go ahead and drop that into the system, whether you're watching this on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or Zoom. And if you're doing it on Zoom, use the Q&A bubble. go ahead and do that now. We've got one question that came in. It looks like John asked, what are they selling? What product or service? Not sure I understand, John. If you would clarify that, I don't know if you're talking about us or talking about the stocks. So make sure you clarify that, and we'll be happy to answer that for you. Garen, how are we doing on finding Austin? Is he gone, or is he going to be able to come back? Do you know? Forgive us while we do that. Let me send him a text. This is always the risk when you go live with people. He just says he doesn't see us again. So you want me to tell him to leave and come back? Let's see if that works. Thank you for being patient with us, everybody. This we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. I don't know if it's internet connection or what's going on. So bear with us. We'll get him back. In the meantime, go ahead and ask your questions. What do you want to know about how to make 100K per year in passive income? So what do you want to know? Go ahead and put your questions in the chat. And when Austin gets back, we'll start going through his blueprint. Any word, Garen, on your side? Talking to our producer to see what's happening. Still waiting. All right. Let's see if we can. Forgive us, folks. We're going to get this started back in a minute. You don't want to miss what Austin tells us about, so don't go anywhere. We're going to get this handled here in just a second. So stick around with us. All right, Austin, are you back with us, buddy? Are you there? I think he's back. Trying to get the camera and that mic on. Nope, and he's gone again. Wow, Seattle must be having some trouble with their internet right now. So forgive us, folks. We're going to be right back.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, there's Austin. We can hear him. Can't see you, but we can hear you. And we just lost him again. Well, folks, we can make it. We can push through these setbacks. We'll be fine. So just hang with us for just a moment. We had more people register for this one than we've had register for the last several of these. So thank you for registering. If you're watching this on the replay later, you can fast forward through some of this as we're waiting to get the reconnection for Austin. But we're glad that you registered, glad that you're here. And just as a reminder, these happen every 2 weeks, and one registration gets you access to all of them. It's better if you register for each one, just so that we know that you're interested in them, but you'll automatically be sent the invites for the ones as they come up. So our next one's going to be coming up. We actually have a big break this month. We don't have another one until April the 5th. And the next one's going to be on how to get a standing ovation at your next TED Talk. So if you're interested in being on a TED stage like Austin's been, and like I've been, you want to make sure that you show up on April the 5th. I might have said August, but April the 5th. April the 5th at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. We got Mike Pacquione is going to be on as our special guest, talking about how to be a better guest speaker, how to be a keynote speaker. And if you want to get on the TED stage, we're going to be talking about that, how to get on a TED stage, and then how to get a standing ovation at a TED Talk. All right, how we doing, Garen? We got Austin back yet? No, he keeps coming in and dropping off, it looks like. So we're still working on it, folks. So as we have the opportunity, I want to take this moment to thank our sponsor. So Dub is one of our sponsors of the podcast, and they do a great job with video marketing. So if you're interested in that, go to therealjasonduncan.com/dub. That's DUBB. But our title sponsor of the Entrepreneur Master Series is the company Story. And you can learn more about them at therealjasonduncan.com/story. But let me tell you what they do. 40 years ago, you weren't in business unless you had a yellow pages. You got to have an ad in the yellow pages. And most Gen Z and millennials don't even know what that is. But that was a printed book of yellow paper that they mailed to every single house in the whole world, and it had every phone number in it. And if you could advertise in the yellow page, put an ad in there for your towing company or your locksmith company or your insurance company, you had to be in the yellow pages. Well, 20 years ago, the internet started being the big thing. Everybody had to be in business with a website. Now, the thing that you must have in order to be in business today is you got to have a social media presence. And specifically, you got to be doing the right kind of social media content. Short form videos, Instagram Reels, Facebook Story or Facebook Reels, YouTube Stories, YouTube Shorts rather. These are the communication methods that we use today as modern marketers to get our business in front of people. How to do that? How do you do it? How do you pick what you're going to say? How do you pick what you're going to talk about? How do you pick how to record it? That's where story comes in. Story does a phenomenal job of giving you the prompts, what you should be saying when you're on camera, things that you want to talk about. You can tell them what subjects you want to cover. They give you the prompt. They have an app. You can even record yourself into the app and send it to their team. Their team edits it. They write the captions. They do the hashtags, and they even post it to your number one platforms that you want to perform on. Being on the social media game is where you have to be if you want to be in business today. So if you want to try them out for free, you get one free edited video, and it will be at therealjasonduncan.com/story. That's story with 2 Y's. Why? Because they're awesome. So go to therealjasonduncan.com/story and check them out. And if you follow me on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, those short form videos that you see, most of those are done by story. I have an internal team that does a few things for me, but they do almost all my stuff. They do a phenomenal job of doing short form social media videos. So go check that out at therealjasonduncan.com/story. All right. So Garen, give me a word here. How are things going, man? How are we? Are we getting Austin back? Are there technical difficulties that we overcome? Okay. So I gotta I gotta do some more time. Well, let me talk just a little bit more about our next EMS. So thank you folks for being patient. Thank you for holding out. It's going to be worth it once we get Austin back in here. We're just trying to get through these technical difficulties on his end. But our next talk with Mike Pacquione. I met Mike Pacquione. He was a speaker at a mastermind event I was at a few months ago. And he's one of the world's most renowned public speaking coaches. And so what he does is he teaches people how to speak better, how to get on stages, and how to do their talk, perform their talks in a way that get responses. And that's really what you want. So at our next EMS, which is going to be on April the 5th at 3:30 p.m. Central Time, Mike's going to be on here and he's going to be sharing with us the 5 tips to get a standing ovation at your next talk. So don't forget to be here April the 5th at 3:30 p.m. with Mike Pacquione. We're going to talk about how to get on stage on TED, and we're going to talk about how to get a standing ovation at your next event. All right. It looks like we are back. I see Austin. So Austin, are you with us? I can hear you loud and clear. Garen, are we all good? Looks like almost. So we're almost good. So Austin, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. I don't. In his there we go. There's Austin. Now Austin's on camera. Everybody can see Austin and everybody can see me. I think we're good. So Austin, and we're back. So we're going to talk about your blueprint to make $100,000 a year passive income. When you dropped off, I was in the process of explaining the difference between passive and active income. I hope that I did a more than adequate job of that. If you guys have questions about it, drop it in the chat. If you're still here, congratulations. Thank you for still being here. Thank you for hanging out. It's going to be worth it. So Austin, start talking about your blueprint, man. What do we got? What are we looking at to create $100,000 in passive income?
Yeah, so we have many different vehicles that we use to get to 100,000 in passive income. One of the most popular ones is exotic car rentals. So you could literally take maybe 5 or 10 different ways that we talk about in my program, and we literally show people step by step on how to get access to funding, how to invest into that vehicle, and how to build up to $100,000. So I'll run you through an example, just super simple with exotic cars. Basically, you go out and you purchase an exotic car, right? And the market has kind of matured at this point where people don't really want to start a regular car rental business. Turo was super popular for a while. People were renting their cars on Turo, and it was working. They're making money, but now the market is saturated. So we've matured to a point where we have to get a little bit more exclusive with our vehicles. And so one strategy that we use is to buy up exotic cars, and you can buy them literally 20, 30, $40,000 down. The last one I bought, only $20,000 down. And you take that vehicle and you send it to an exotic car rental company. So that company can then take those vehicles and not charter, but rent them out on a daily basis to their clients. So they have an existing clientele, they have existing marketing, their business works with or without you. And that's something that I really love about it, because it's like fractional ownership of the business or owning equity in the business, except you're buying an asset, a very safe asset to hold. It's protecting you from inflation. Your money is making you more money there than it is in the bank, and it's producing monthly cash flow. So if you're able to acquire this asset, you can place it, let's say, in New York, right? You buy a Lamborghini, you send it to New York, and it's renting out anywhere between $1,500 to $1,700 a day. And on average, we're seeing anywhere between 10 to 15 days a month, sometimes 20 if it's a hot vehicle. So you can imagine if you're doing 10 days a month at $1,500 a day, that's about $16,000 a month, or $15,000 a month, right? 15, 1600, 1700. You're also going to get a bit of an extra amount from like insurance and stuff like that. So they usually get additional coverage. But it's uncommon to see less than like $10,000 a month. And then I'd say the top of that range is maybe up to like $40,000 a month on really hot months. So we could be averaging anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 a month. Now you're going to have to split that with the operator. Of course, they're bought in. They want to charter and rent out your vehicles, your entire fleet, but they're going to want to take a cut of it. So let's say you're splitting it with them 50-50. If you cleared $20,000 that month, 50% goes to them. You keep the other 50%, and that's about $10,000 a month. So you are going to have to make payments on the vehicle, obviously, but you do still make that money. So sometimes people forget. They're like, oh, well, I have to make, $20,000 a month to be profitable because I have to make payments on my vehicle and all this stuff. Well, the money that you're paying off on the vehicle, you're going to get at the end. It's kind of like a piggy bank. You have this piggy bank and you're making payments month after month after month. But after the vehicle's paid off, you can sell it and get all that money in cash. So you are still making that money. Now, on top of that, your net cash flow is still going to be anywhere between like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month. And so that's probably the easiest way to get to six figures. Now, some people want to get a little bit more diversified and sophisticated. So another really popular one that we do is private jets. So we'll buy up these private jets. People will have fractional ownership stakes in the jet, and then we charter that out to different clients. So we have charter companies that we work with. Those, they don't cash flow as heavily, but it is a safer asset. So we've seen all of our jets appreciate. We've never had a depreciating jet so far. And it's a different type of clientele, right? We're not looking at people who want to race around a Lamborghini downtown. These are business travelers. These are professionals, people that have a lot of money, and they're usually not trying to nickel and dime you. It's more of like, oh, okay, it's 40K to go from here to here. That's fine. And it's like the margins are just much bigger. And you're not putting as much wear and tear on the asset. And on top of that, you're still doing pretty well. Like we're seeing anywhere between 20 to 70% ROI annually on these jets, and that's net. That's not counting the payments that we're making on it. And yeah, it just kind of depends on the jet and where it is and what the range is and all that stuff. So those are two ways that we've been able to create six figures in passive income. But we also dabble in like real estate, Airbnb, multifamily, yacht charters, all that fun stuff.
Well, let's break that down. I'm interested in those three things, specifically the exotic car rental, the private jets, and then the Airbnb. So I want to talk. I want to kind of talk about those things, and we've got a couple of questions that came in. So before I ask my questions, I want to go to the audience. Eric asked, "What was the app you were trading on? The practice trading. What app were you using, or what would you recommend people use?"
Yeah, it's called MetaTrader 4. So if you type in the App Store MetaTrader 4, that's the app. Now, keep in mind, the creators of MetaTrader 4, I think they had some sort of ties to Russia, so they were banned from the App Store for like the past year or so. But I did hear that they're either coming back or they just came back. So check, and it might be there. If it's not available in the App Store, you could go online and just download it from a website to your laptop and trade on there.
Okay, so MetaTrader 4, so check that out. And then Evan asks, how many hours a week do we need to invest to start earning this amount or income? Is there a blueprint roadmap to work from? And I think that's what we're going to be getting into, but I'll let you address Evan's question.
Yeah, definitely. So we do have a blueprint. If you just go to my website, investwithaustin.com, you're going to find the blueprint there. You can download it, and it tells you the exact amounts that we're putting in on these investments, the ROI we can expect, the cash flow. So it really breaks it down. It's like a full roadmap of different things that we do. But besides that, it's totally up to you. Like, even with, like, let's say exotic cars, you don't do anything. Like, you buy the car, maybe that's going to take some time. You got to have to choose the car. You have to get financing. It might take you maybe 10 hours total. But after you've shipped that car to the company that's renting it out for you, you don't really do anything. You just wait for your direct deposit on the first of every month. Now, if you're running something like Airbnb, you have a couple different options, right? You could run the entire Airbnb business on your own, or you could hire a management company to do it for you. I don't run any of my own investments. So I literally put 0 hours every week into managing my investments. The only thing that I really do is I develop new investment opportunities. So I travel, I vet investment opportunities, I find ways to make money with these investments. And I do trade sometimes manually, but that's just for.
Oh, we lost your audio, Austin. We lost your audio. And video just went dead too. Oh my gosh, man, we're having some issues on the technical side today. Garen, is he totally gone from the show right now? Is he completely out? Yeah, totally gone. So, all right, folks. Well, we're going to take another technical break. If I had more sponsors, I would be listing them, but I don't. So I want to tell you, go check out Story, therealjasonduncan.com/story, STORYY, and register for your free opportunity to get a free video, free short form video for you. Plus, you're going to get a discount on the service if you decide to sign up. So go make sure you check that out. And I'm just going to hopefully also get back, because I'm going to ask him what I want to ask him about the exotic car rentals. Is I'm a car guy. And what I want to ask him is I want to know, okay, if I buy a new Ferrari California, for example, which is one of the less expensive Ferraris, but in my opinion, one of the most beautiful ones, because I like a traditional convertible car. So if I bought that, and let's say it is $180,000, $200,000, and I put 20% down, or put 20 grand down on that car and drop it into a fleet somewhere, is there a price point on that exotic car at which this won't make sense, where I won't make cash flow? Because the last thing I want to do is buy the car, somebody else has it, I don't have access to it, can't drive it, and I'm not making any money off of it. Worst case is I'm having to pay payments out of my own pocket. So I want to ask you about that. I also want to ask about the private jets thing, because I have a friend who owns a private jet company here in the Nashville area. And I wonder, like, if I just went and said, hey, to my friend, hey, I'm going to buy a jet. I'm going to get a group of guys. We're going to do a little syndication. We're going to buy a jet, put it in your fleet, because how much money can we expect to make, and how much cash out of pocket would that take? So I'm going to ask Austin that. And then third, I want to ask about Airbnbs, because Airbnbs, I own one. And right now it's the slow season where ours is located in the mountains. And we're having to carry a lot of the costs on it right now, it's out of pocket. So I want to ask him about his experience with management companies, like project management companies. So if I had a project management or a property manager company running this Airbnb, not only would it be slow, but I'd also be paying money and nothing's happening. So I want to ask him about how he does that. But go to investwithaustin.com, investwithaustin.com, and you can download his blueprint. investwithaustin.com. So, Austin, I think you're back. Are you back? Are we good?
I think so, man. I don't know what's going on.
I don't either, man. Well, we've got a loyal audience because they're still with us. They're still asking questions. They're still paying
Awesome.
attention because I think we got a really good topic here. So thank you for being patient,
Yeah, thank
everybody.
you guys.
If you have a question, just drop it in the chat. If you're in Zoom, make sure you put it in the Q&A bubble, and our producer Garen will make sure that we pull it in. And I want to give big props to producer Garen. So Garen is with a company called Desk Rig, and if you do any online stuff like this, his company handles all the back end. As you can see, all I have to do is talk. All I'm doing is showing up and I'm talking. I invited the guest. Garen's doing it all in the background. He does a phenomenal job. Go to deskrig.com and give a big shout out to Garen and say, hey, I heard you on the latest EMS, and you did a killer job of just trying to figure out the technical difficulties that had nothing to do with Desk Rig, by the way. I want to work with you. So reach out to Garen at Desk Rig. So Austin, three things I want to ask you about. Exotic car rentals. And I was telling everybody this while you were gone. Let's say I wanted to go buy a new Ferrari California, which is one of the lower, it's not as, doesn't cost as much as some of the other Ferraris. And I said, I'm going to drop this in a fleet somewhere. Okay.
Yep.
What is the total out-of-pocket cost that should be expected? And then what's a realistic expectation for a rental income on that particular type of car?
So the first thing that I'm going to say is the Ferrari California is not in high demand. So they're not going to let you buy one of those and add it to their fleet because obviously they want to make money too.
Okay.
So they're going to kind of direct you in the direction that they need you to go. So for example, right now we need a couple Escalades. We need a Maybach truck. We need a Sprinter van. We need a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. We need a Lamborghini Aventador, a Ferrari F8. Like those are just top of mind, the ones I can remember that we need. So they're kind of specific about the cars that they add because they know what's hot and what's performing. So total out-of-pocket cost, realistically, you can buy these cars with $20,000, $30,000 down. Once you purchase the vehicle, the only other expenses are going to be maybe like transportation of the vehicle to the facility, and then maybe $200-$300 a month in insurance, unless you can get your insurance company to give you just storage insurance, which is like $50 a month. So if you have storage insurance, the car is still going to be fully covered whenever a client comes in, because the car is going to be covered under their insurance. And this is something that the company verifies before they give them the vehicle. And once it's verified that they have sufficient coverage, then they have access to the vehicle. Realistically, as far as profits go, I've seen different markets perform differently. But let's say you had a Lamborghini Huracan, right? And even in a slower market like here in Seattle, there's no setup fee, right? So they're not charging you anything. You can place the car here, and I've seen it make anywhere between like $8,000 and around $30,000 a month. Now in New York, if we're talking about a more expensive market, those companies out there can make you $40,000, $50,000 a month on this one car. And that's kind of the advantage of going with a company there. But oftentimes they're going to want to charge you a setup fee just to get started. So that can be $20,000 to $30,000. So I'd say total startup cost, if you're just going with a lower, like a lower end market, I'd say, or a less busy market, you could get away with 20K. Now, if you're going for a premium market and maybe a more expensive car, it could be somewhere between 50 and 70K. And then as far as profits go, yeah, I'd say shoot for like a 10 to 40K range. And then depending on the vehicle and depending where it is, that's going to dictate what you're going to make.
Okay, let's talk about the jets, because I've got a good friend of mine who owns a company here in the Nashville area that does charter jets. He does jet sales, jet maintenance, and so anything involved in aircraft, he does. A helicopter, fixed wing, and helicopters. And he's all across the United States, got hangars at all these places. But if I went to him and I say, hey, Kevin, I'm going to buy a jet with a syndicate. I'm going to go through and get a syndication of guys. We're going to do this thing together, or JV, and we're going to buy a jet and put it in your fleet to charter. What should be the expected total cash outflow plus, and then what would the income be on the back end of that?
Yeah, so that's more of the higher end investment with us. So we require a minimum of $100,000. So, for example, the last jet that we did, $100,000 gets you about 9% ownership of the jet. So we put down about $1 million, and that jet then that was like a $4 million jet, nothing too crazy. A million down, we finance the rest of it, and it's cash flowing about $450,000 a year. So you'd get maybe $40 to $45,000 of that, based on your $100,000 investment. So right around a 40% return. But on top of that, the jet is appreciated, so you made some money there. And then on top of that, we're also paying off the jet. That's net income that we just talked about. You're also paying off the jet month after month because we're making loan payments, and so you're going to get the rest of that 4 million later at some point. But for now, you're just collecting that cash flow monthly. So that is kind of the target that we look for. If we're putting 25% down to make between like a 30 and a 70% return annually. And then if we're looking at something that's larger or maybe a bit of a specialty aircraft, it could be a little bit smaller on the profits.
Okay, so on the exotic car rentals, in order to get into that, you could definitely make 100K in passive income with exotic car rentals, depending upon the car and the market that you put it in. And I'm
Yep,
sure your team can help people figure that out. 20K is
absolutely.
what it costs to get into that game. But on the jet game, it's a lot more expensive. You know, we're not talking about a $300,000 car. We're talking about a $4 million jet. So
Yep.
we're talking 100K to get in, and you got to have a lot of other people. You own about 9% of that, and you're
Mhm.
going to get definitely make $100,000 in income, but net is probably going to be half of that on the jet. So you have more income,
The
more,
first year. Yeah.
yeah. And the first year
Yeah.
you got more down, less back first year, but long term you're going to make a lot more money on the jet than you are on the Lamborghini, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially because keep in mind, it's like a big piggy bank, right? We put a million down, you own 9% of that, and then once the jet is fully paid off, this is a $4 million asset. So that means you're gonna get a payout of about 30 or $360,000, right? On top of all the cash flow that you've been cash flowing month after month after month. So it is a higher end investment, but keep in mind, most of these people that are coming in, they didn't have 100K when they came into the program. The first thing that we did with these people is we showed them how to get access to capital. So I have contacts in banks, senior vice presidents, relationship managers. These are people that are putting in applications on our behalf in order to increase our chances of getting approved. So we're getting credit cards, 0% interest. We're getting business lines of credit. We're getting business loans. Now, once we've collected all this capital, somebody could come in and easily get between 300 and $500,000 maybe. And with that money, now they want to put it somewhere. And so that's why we teach them on all these different investment opportunities, and they're able to pull the trigger on the one that they want to.
So your whole program, when you're teaching people how to do this, is you're telling them, okay, I'll show you how to get access to the 20 grand, the 50 grand, the 100
Yep,
grand. I'll show you how to get it, and then we'll show you how to deploy it. So it's a two-step
exactly.
process.
Yeah, three-step process, because the third thing is we help them scale that to six figures. So we create a game plan with them on, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z, it's very likely that you could hit six figures in, 5 months or 10 months or 12 months, whatever it is.
All right. So you've got six figures as quick as a year. Let's talk about the real estate side of things. You
Yeah.
mentioned Airbnb. Is that really the go-to on this?
My go-to is honestly multifamily. I think there's a huge opportunity in multifamily. The way I see multifamily is, again, it's like a piggy bank. I'm buying these assets from the bank or from the market using the bank's money, and then people are paying them off for me. So again, I could put $5 million down on a $15 million building, and over time that building is going to get paid off. Now the cool thing with multifamily is that it's way easier to increase the value of that asset than with any other asset class. And so with multifamily, they're not valued based on the location or the condition. Sure, those factors are important, but what's really important is the net operating income. And so if we can calculate the net operating income of this asset, we can easily control the value of it. And so that's a blueprint that I've created for my students where we're basically taking these units, we're increasing the amount of rent that we're paying or that clients are paying in that building, and that increases the net operating income of that building. And so it becomes really, really easy to make a lot of money with multifamily.
Yeah, multifamily was something I have been interested in for the last 5 or 6 years. I looked at buying a couple of apartment complexes, but I was trying to do it myself. And of course, it takes a
Yeah,
lot of capital to do it yourself. And so I kept passing and passing and passing. And then ultimately, we ended up buying an Airbnb. We bought a cabin in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee last year. And, it's not performing great. It's in the slow time right now. And we made the cardinal mistake of buying a short-term rental. Is we bought the one that we fell in love with and we want to use kind of as our second home. And when you
yeah,
do that, your emotion gets in the way of making better decisions. Like I should have bought one that's
yeah,
just going to make money. I don't care if I
yeah,
like it or
yeah.
not. I just want it to make money. Well,
And
talk about.
one thing that I wanted to mention on multifamily before I move on, um, I want to share the blueprint that we've used to literally create like multiple seven figures for people, right? So if we just take an example of net operating income, we're talking about a 64 unit building. So we have 64 units. If we increase the rents of these buildings, we can easily bump up that net operating income. And then that means that the value of the building jumps immediately. So let's do some quick math. If you guys want to follow along, if you do 64 units, so we have 64, we take 64 times $100. So basically, we've increased the rent that we're collecting from that building to about $6,400 more every single month. So let's multiply that times 12 to find out how much income we've created within 12 months. Times 12, we're at 76,800. So what would that be worth on the open market? And keep in mind, when people are buying real estate like this, they're paying attention to one number, and it's called the cap rate. So that means if I put $1 million into an investment, I expect to get a cap rate of, let's say, 4% or 5% or 6%. 6% is great in today's market. Most people are buying at about a 4 to 5% cap rate. And that's just market conditions right now. So if we were to give somebody a smoking deal on this apartment building and we sold it at a 6% cap rate, basically take this number and you divide it by 0.06. So divide by 0.06.
Oh, we just lost your mic again. Oh my gosh. And his camera stopped. He was getting right to the punchline. That just increased the value by $1.28 million for those of you playing at home. So what you're doing is now that your building is worth that much more money, you can go to the bank and say, hey, I need to take a loan against this building that is now worth $1.28 million more than it was yesterday. That's where you're going to get that capital. And that's why multifamily real estate is such a great investment vehicle, is because you can do that. You just get in that first time, you increase the net operating income, which he gave the example of increasing rents, which is not the only way that you have to do that. There are certainly other ways. You can increase your income or decrease your costs. There's two sides of that. So if you increase the income, as he did in his example, you're just increasing the income by $77,000 a year. And that increases the value of that business, that building rather, by 1.3 million bucks, which you can borrow against, take that capital out and go buy a jet or buy another multifamily or buy a fleet of exotic cars to put in to service. So, or you could decrease the operating expenses themselves. So for instance, if there's a lease that you're paying for you're on a long-term lease with a cable company or certain other provider, and you could decide to do that cheaper, you could decrease the operating costs in that building and effectively increase the net operating income, as Austin was talking about. But this time you're not increasing the cost to the residents, you're actually decreasing the cost of operating the building. So Austin, welcome back. I was finishing your explanation of that $1.28 million.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
It's a good thing I know a little bit about this stuff, or we would be lost like a ball in tall weeds. But so
Yeah,
go
there you
ahead.
go.
The $1.28 million, the increase in value of that business or that building, and you can go borrow against that. I explained a little bit about that, but you're the expert, so go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, once we've
Oh my gosh. If I didn't, we couldn't have planned it to happen like this. He's dropped again. I can only guess, producer Garen, that there is a significantly bad internet connection in Seattle today. That's the only thing I know. I don't know if there's more riots going on up there and they're burning stuff down, but this is insane. I tell you what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. We're going to go ahead and call this one a day, because the coming in and out, I'm sure the audience is getting lethargic about watching all this stuff. So audience, thank you for being here live. Thank you for being here on Zoom. I'm going to reschedule this with Austin. We're going to get a one-off show. We're going to bring Austin back in. We're going to do something. So I want you to stay tuned. therealjasonduncan.com/EMS. That's the website. That's the spot that is going to be. We're going to have Austin come back on, because it's not fair to Austin that we keep dropping off like this. So I think he might be back, but let's see. I see his video. Are we good? Garen says that my audience is sticking with us. So thank you for sticking with us. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to call it. So Garen, would you just tell Austin I will call him in just a minute? Let me go ahead and shut the show down and we'll get out there. But don't leave just yet, everybody. Don't leave just yet. Let me tell you something. So normally I do these twice a month. I'm only doing one this month because of my travel schedule. I'm not able to do two. My next one is going to be on April the 5th, Mike Pacquiao on the 5 ways to get a standing ovation at your next TED Talk or whatever talk you're giving. So if you're in public speaking, you want to get into public speaking, you want to be a better public speaker, and you want to be all those things if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you don't want to miss this one. It's on April the 5th at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. And we are going to hope to the internet gods that Mike's internet service is going to be a little better than Austin's today. But no, it's not blaming Austin. Austin had nothing to do with it either. But we hope that it'll be better for Mike. So that's going to be on Wednesday, April the 5th. Now I'm going to try to figure out a way, because I have every one of these is booked for the next 6 months. I've got a lot of people that want to be guests on this show. So I'm going to figure out a way to squeeze Austin in onto a different show in the future. We're going to get him rebooked. We're going to do this again, because this information is way too valuable, and his blueprint is too good to have it be interrupted like this. So Austin, I see your camera's back on. Put it back up there, Garen. Let me talk to Austin for just a second. So what
we're back.
So here's what we're going to do, Austin, which is what I just told everybody. Dude, yeah. I want to reschedule this when the internet gods are more in our favor, because this information is way too good to have it drop in, drop out, drop in, drop out. And I know it's not your fault. So nobody's blaming you. This just sucks for all of us. But we need to get you to do this again, and we need to do a full thing. So are you game? Can we get you rescheduled to come on another time, and we'll just do this all the way through?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'd love that.
Yeah, well, we need to do it. So stick around. Austin, you stay in the room as long as you can and are able to. But Garen, go ahead, take him off camera. Let me just shut the show down and tell everybody about what's coming up next. Okay. So again, thank you for your patience. Thank you guys for sticking through this. Austin, listen, 26-year-old dude creating 8 figures of passive income streams, and he shows people just like how to do this. So go to investwithaustin.com. Look at his blueprint, check it out, and you'll be ready. So when we do this the next time, maybe you have already learned some other stuff from Austin, and you can come and bring some questions. So thank you guys for asking the questions. We weren't able to get to all of them because we had so many technical difficulties. But I'm the real Jason Duncan. This is the Entrepreneur Master Series. Please keep in touch with us at therealjasonduncan.com/EMS. And the last announcement I want to make before we go is I want to announce my book. This book, Exit Without Exiting, just came out last week and is now a #1 international best-selling book. And I'm flattered that my team has been able to help me get this out there. It's Exit Without Exiting. It's how to exit your business without selling it and begin living the exit lifestyle sooner than you ever thought possible. You can pick this up at Amazon. It's the #1 new release in many categories. All you got, one of the things, it's #1 new release in the category of negotiation. And one of the best negotiation books I ever read is Never Split the Difference. You guys read that? You should go check it out. Well, guess who unseated that dude for at least a day? This guy right here, the guy on the back of this book. This is me. Check it out. There's my hat. This book right now is on sale, and our launch price of only $5.99. So $6 for the book. So go check it out. You can get it on Amazon or go to therealjason.duncan.com/book. And you can check out a video of me talking about why I wrote it, who I wrote it for, and what you can expect to receive as a result of reading this book. So go check it out, Exit Without Exiting, How to Exit Your Business Without Selling It and Begin Living the Exit Lifestyle Sooner Than You Ever Thought Possible. Thank you for your patience today. We'll see you on the next regularly scheduled EMS on April the 5th at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Until then, I am the real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.